So, yet again, we have another example of conveniently timed statistics that may or may not be true, or may not be somewhat tampered with, to back up yet more heartfelt pleas from a lefty who's got a suggestion or a notion or an idea or a new law, whatever it may be. There's always statistics to back up what they want to do. This is no different. So hate crime in Scotland is now race related because it coincides with an asshole Sarwar doing nothing but spewing out shit that Scotland is supposedly all of a sudden really fucking racist. Last time I checked we weren't, but an asshole Sarwar seems to know differently. Must be my unconscious bias. Of course, it goes on to say down here, total of 6,736 hate crimes were logged. That doesn't mean that that's 6,000 that were, resulted in charges, but of course, a measly report is enough to conjure up fucking articles and headlines to suit a narrative. Then it goes on to say, which I find hilarious, is almost as if they really are insulting the intelligence of the people that decide to read this. The figures conveniently come as a nationwide scheme was launched today to tackle prejudice and discrimination in Scotland's classrooms. The Inclusion and Diversity Charter, will recognise the efforts of schools in prompting inclusion and diversity. Inclusion, diversity, progression, multiculturalism. Wasn't bad enough that you legalised and made it compulsory in LGBT emphasis in the T education. Now you're moving towards dominating with feminist talking points to benefit the feminists. And now you're going so far as to pander to the notion that there is racial inequality in society. How has Scotland all of a sudden just become racist out of blue? But of course, who is behind this? If it's not Sturgeon, it's Sturgeon's right-hand man from the Labour Party, an asshole Sarwar. And he says that he wants to tackle prejudice in schools because white man bad, as you're going to see soon enough. But just a little quick bit on the diversity chart here, whatever they are. Paul Carberry, Action for Children Director for Scotland, said, "We are very proud to be launching the Inclusion and Diversity Charter, with some of the young people behind creating it. We believe this people-led award will encourage schools to further develop social justice and inclusion for black and ethnic minority young people while promoting equality and anti-racist education." Anti-racist education. So if they never implemented this inclusion network, then our education system would still be racist. Okay then. Wasn't racist when I was in school, but now all of a sudden it is. It's funny that. Furthermore, it will demonstrate to all BAME young people that their school includes and supports them to identify their rights and provides understanding and support to their individual needs. It's a school. What the fuck, man? Anyway, so after a couple of weeks of relentlessly claiming that Scotland is really racist because an asshole Sarwar said it was, he's obviously teamed up with the people in question that have created this diversity charter. And they've drawn up their own how-to guide for what schools should do to make things more fair and equal, and it's just, again, it's disguised as generic sentiments towards a better society, but in the background it's riddled with your modern day Marxist crap regarding white man bad, you know. Everybody's oppressed, white privilege, you know, again, redefining racism to mean something different, rewriting history to a certain extent, or picking and choosing what you choose to remember from history, as you'll see just now. So when they come out to the paper and they talk about the fact that they're going to challenge racism that they claim exists in school, to the untrained eye that may seem fair enough, and to be honest, if it was the case, it was as clear cut as that, I'd say the same thing if racism did exist. But I can't help but feel that there's, again, a convenient rise or a convenient epidemic in racism that they need to jump in and save. But of course, when you come down through this shit, you realise quite quickly just what sort of political standpoint and ideology the people that have drawn this up truly hold dear to themselves. You know, the continual use of the word inclusion and diversity, if that wasn't enough of a red flag, you'll see yourself. I mean, bear in mind, this is what they're going to teach to children. Because Anas Sarwar, Nicola Sturgeon, and all the other lefty politicians here at Rainbow Unicorn Land have made it a top priority to not only pander to gay people, they're also pandering heavily to feminists because apparently women are unequal in society. And now they're starting to, out of nowhere, constantly play with this narrative that black people and brown people and ethnic minorities of all sizes, colours, creeds are all treated really unfairly, and Scotland's really racist, and the only claim they've got to back it up is the fact that they're not represented, quote unquote, equally or fairly in society. They make up 4% of the fucking population. Granted, probably will be a bit more when the census comes round in a couple of years' time, but for the time being, the farther we know, it's 4%. How much representation are you fucking asking for? Like, and I think you need to change the narrative, because that doesn't a representation doesn't equate to your overall level of acceptance in society. And that doesn't equate to achieving gender equality or racial equality. And a lack of representation doesn't mean that society is racist. Society is discriminating against you, or you're marginalised, or in fact oppressed. But of course, this is the narrative that they want to hammer home, and every avenue is exactly the same, whether it be the colleges and universities in America, or whether it be our primary schools in fucking Scotland. Responding to racist bullying, blah blah blah. You keep coming down. I can't believe that this is the sort of shit that they're going to be taking into consideration when they start to change the way our children are taught. It's fucked up, man. So you got your generic words here with the terminology BAME, ethnic group, ethnocentrism, hidden bias, prejudice that is not outwardly deliberate but nonetheless affects attitudes and behaviour, occurs because the person responsible is not consciously understood or acknowledged how stereotypes affect their own perceptions and actions. But yeah, these people that have drawn this up, who have in turn learnt it from some Marxist lefty sociologist out there, that guy knew, or that woman knew, they knew exactly. They managed to see all the problems deep down within the evil white man, that hidden bias that none of us acknowledged, none of us knew was there. But they knew it was there, and they can't prove for a fact that only white people have it. Granted, unconscious bias to an extent exists because people favour their own. That doesn't mean it's racist or anything like that. It's just you go to what you're used to a certain extent. But I love how they've taken that simple part of the human makeup, and they've turned it into something completely different. And I love how these people that made it into such a big issue, they knew all about it, but yet nobody else did. It's remarkable. How? But of course, institutional racism. Here's the first one. Racism created within an organisation by rules, customs, processes and practices which have been planned without regard to the potential impacts on people from minority ethnic groups. Name me one law that discriminates because you're black. Name me one rule. Or are you going to bring up disparities? You're going to bring up the ethnic pay gap. That doesn't mean that you're getting paid less for doing the same job because you're black. It simply means that you're not doing the same jobs on average. So, again, institutional racism. This is one thing to spew this shit out on Channel 4 News or at your protests, which you do all day, every day, with your blue bald feminists and all the rest of it. But there's another thing entirely to include this as a means to move towards an end goal of fucking indoctrinating children with this in mind. So a predominantly white class full of primary school kids that are white, you're looking at them knowing full well that some of them are unconsciously biased. You're looking at them knowing they've all got white privilege. You're looking at them and knowing full well that the black and ethnic minorities in that class, it needs to be made aware that they need to be getting special treatment. You need to make the black people in the society or in that classroom know that all the whites don't like them. Because that's all you're doing. This is nothing more than racial tension. And it's fucking, there's just, Stuntman, eh? This may or may not coincide with directly racist actions on the part of an institution or its employees. The impact of the institution's work and the way it operates are racist, regardless of whether the people within the institution have racist attitudes themselves. Yep, Scotland's society is racist. Yep. Okay then. But then get this one. Internalized racism. The impact of racist social structures on an individual's perception of their own power. Social structures. Internalized racism. Just get a fucking grip. Intersectionality has managed to find itself in a how-to guide, basically, to reapproach the way we teach children in our academia. Intersectionality, some radical far-left theory, it's infested itself quite nicely, quite comfortably into the academia, and yet nobody bats an eyelid because everybody's too distracted by that fucking feminist stinking banging on about Brexit or lack of. This is going on in the background. What is going on here, man? What the fuck is going on here? We're a small country, and these rules, these laws, these revamps, the whole status quo in terms of how things are being done seem to be moving in a direction that I don't see as called for one. It's safe to say that the left on the political paradigm have well and truly been taken over by a radical form. This is ridiculous, man. So, of course, intersectionality theory explains it's a theory though, explains that the full range of characteristics someone possesses impacts their experience of inequality. Oh, this inequality. I'm black and gay, that means I'm more oppressed than you. And they wear it like a badge of fucking honour. Focusing on how anti-discrimination law and theory often fails to protect black women whose experience of inequality and discrimination is distinct from the experiences of both white women and black men. White women, oh, they're discriminated to by the white man. Oh my god. Wow. Racial microaggressions are subtle regular interactions that reflect bias and stereotypes that only we get because we're white, racial stereotypes. Can't help it, internalized misogyny, internalized racism. I'm sorry that you feel that way. That's evil white man. Racism is a prejudice against people from ethnic backgrounds which have been racialized. No, so you can't be racist to white people because we've not been racialized. Yeah. There's them redefining what racism means. I'm pretty sure if I was to go out tonight and I got battered by 3 black guys because I was white, I'm pretty sure that would be a racist act, would it not be? Or is the new definition of racism taking centre stage here? Will that be in the textbook for the children to learn all about? Maybe what page will it be on? Will it be in the page before or after they learn about their white privilege? How fucking disgraceful is this, that this has been implemented into the academia? An asshole Sarwar comes out and says the generic sentences that kind of make it look like this is a good thing, and you don't feel the need to look any further into it. But lo and behold, you look slightly further into it, and you see quite clearly that the people that are drawing this shit up quite clearly have a warped way of seeing the world. Therefore, by default, their end goal, the way that they see things where they need to be, will by default be warped too. Because they're trying to tackle problems that don't exist. They're trying to solve problems and prevent problems that don't exist by coming up with solutions that, quite frankly, they're so blinded by their own ideology they can't even see it. That some of them are discriminating in themselves, or racist in themselves, or sexist in themselves. And it always seems to conveniently or unintentionally tarnish the white man. Pull the white man down slightly. Discriminate against the white man because he bad. White man bad. You fucking... I can't believe this. You're teaching this to a bunch of children. The most basic the advantage arises from white people being well represented. Representation, oh yes. Advantages which automatically apply to a person because they are white. In a society which is designed around the worldview of a white majority ethnic country. White You go into Google, I'm not going to bother doing it, but if you go into Google and you type in white privilege, you go into the Wikipedia of it, you quite clearly see that the term was originally coined from a fucking Marxist. Fast forward and here we are, and a modern day variation of Marxism seems to be well and truly integrated within our society. Xenophobia, prejudice against people who are viewed as being foreign. The term is particularly applied to prejudice against people from white minority ethnic groups who may face stereotypes, prejudice and discrimination, particularly those who could be identified as others as recent migrants. Yeah, right, okay then. So as I said, it wasn't bad enough that they're pandering to gay people, now they're pandering to feminists, and now they're pandering to black people. I mean, how much more can we go on this intersectional ladder? I suppose now you're going to have to pretend that you give a shit about disabled people. That'll be next. To pretend that you always have, because you haven't. Nonetheless, so the race equality framework for Scotland sets out the Scottish Government vision for progress and race equality by the year 2030. I'm pretty sure when people voted Nicola Sturgeon in first time round, they didn't know anything about this shit. I mean, what is going on here? Just what is going on here? Priorities are clearly not being prioritised. And quite frankly, the way you are implying society is unless you jump in immediately to save the fucking day. If anything else is insulting, you're implying that our children, you're implying that us as people need all these hate crime laws and prevention slapped on us, and we need all these attitude changes, and we need the education system to be completely revamped. We need quota systems and anti-discrimination or positive discrimination laws, because without it, white man bad, white man society really fucking bad. Poor little oppressed minorities all across the place can't make ends meet because white man bad. This is a fucking narrative that it seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. And it does beg the question, what's going to happen when we're the minority, yeah? Will this same pandering apply? I don't think it fucking will. Nonetheless, this video is far too long. It's just unbelievable. It includes a commitment to ensuring that minority ethnic people have confidence and are effectively supported by approaching the schools to prevent respond prejudice-based bullying. So if it wasn't for this miraculous how-to guide, these schools are basically admitting that they were racist pieces of shit beforehand. They're not pandering, but why weren't they there for them before? Why weren't they cuddling the black people before and kissing their forehead and telling them if it was alright? I'm sorry, but that's the way I see it, really, because this notion that because I'm white, my neighbours are white, everybody in my estate pretty much is white, bar a couple of people. So we're just like a big group of whites, and we're really comfortable because we're all white. That's not how it fucking works. I don't give a shit about anybody in my estate. I don't walk through my estate knowing I'm perfectly safe here because we're all white. So that should be no different from somebody that's black walking through the estate. Might be a bit different on the basis of that they are a minority, but that's as far as it goes. Nobody sees them any differently. Nobody treats them any differently. And really, the onus is on people like this if they feel like that is the case. Because at the end of the day, as I've said, these lefty politicians, they fuel the fire. They make it seem as if all these things are absolutely essential. They need to combat all these rising inequalities and discriminations, etc. And then all it does is reaffirm your belief that you are a victim when things don't go your way. But at the end of the fucking day, the narrative will not die until people stop listening. But it seems that this is going completely unnoticed because they come out and they say just the bare minimum to take poop off the scent. And that's if anybody manages to even come across the articles or the charters in question, because 9 times out of 10 everybody seems to be too focused on independence or lack of. Fucking no justification for this whatsoever. I know they claim it's to stamp out racism, but you're gonna teach a bunch of kids that knew fuck all about racism to stop them being racist. Think about it, man. Peace.